Hey everyone, so glad to finally get to introduce myself on this platform. I'm Scarly and this is iScarlyGames. This is my first video, and I spent some extra time on it to make sure it was as good as a first video with a team of exactly one could be. I hope it meets your standards, and please, feel free to leave constructive criticisms and hopefully some compliments in the comment section. With that out of the way, let's get this started. Over the last few months, I've been focusing heavily on a thought. A crazy thought that only crazy people have, and this thought is, holy crap, I think I solved Security Breach. Here's the main takeaways. Vanessa and Gregory have a lot more in common than a lot of us thought initially. Even more surprising to me, the scrapped story of Security Breach was not actually scrapped. And the craziest part of all, even now, anything pre-Steel Wool is not even being considered. No. The point of this theory is to prove, once and for all, Security Breach tells a full and complete story. This will probably be expanded on in further videos, but honestly, I want to get this out before somebody beats me to it, and matpat retires and can't react to it anymore. How many of you are aware that Fazbear takes in orphaned and abandoned children? It happens enough that ComedyBot mentions that it happens in their routine. While I couldn't find any direct references of an orphanage inside the PIZZAPLEX, I believe we have enough evidence to support this point. For starters, back to the ComedyBot. The statement about abandoning your child at their favorite place before moving to Aruba happens in between different bits that are used to advertise the features of the PIZZAPLEX.
Aren't parents the worst? Any of you kids have parents. Don't you hate it when your parents take you somewhere fun and abandon you? They're all like, I guess if I dump little Jeremy off at his favorite pizzeria before I move to Aruba, that makes me a good parent. Closing line.
This also could explain what Gregory is doing in the PIZZAPLEX to begin with. Not a single line from ComedyBot is an actual joke or a lie. Everything is a fact or an advertisement. Gregory is not a robot or the crying child. I mean, I'm sure he's cried before. Who the hell has not? Gregory is just an orphan. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, maybe something a little more, but we'll get to that. The only evidence against an orphanage is that we don't see one. However, I have a good explanation for this. The daycare is padded and constantly watched over by its attendant, which often says, "It is past your bedtime. You must be punished." This means there are consistently children in the daycare past closing time. The daycare doubles as an orphanage. Also, there is no clear reason for Gregory to be living in the PIZZAPLEX, which he obviously is. Who would have taken him there? He's absolutely, irrefutably an orphan, so it's not like a parent took him there for funsies and he just got lost. We see in the worst ending that he has nowhere to go upon escaping, and we also know Fazbear is notorious for cutting corners. Why would they make a full orphanage when they can just pad a floor, saving a pretty penny on construction permits and legally mandated inspections, assuming they actually follow through with them? Okay, Scarlet, slow down. What does that have to do with anything? One orphan does not mean there's more, and you are absolutely right. There is more than one. There's two. No, but really, hear me out. Consider the message, "It is happening again," which reads, "Customer complaint. Why did you reopen? Everyone remembers what happens to those kids." What kids? And no, not the obvious ones. John FNAF makes a very compelling case for Security Breach being set in 2035. That's about 50 years after the ones you're thinking of. Since then, multiple different locations have been built. Freddys has been rebranded from a controversial pizza place shrouded in the dark clouds of child murder to essentially the Goosebumps of its respective universe. This is multiple generations later. Nobody remembers what happens to those kids. And the ones that do would not wait this long to express concern. Now, something must have happened more recently and must have been kept low-key enough that it hasn't completely ruined the brand again. I believe that this is in reference to the orphans in Fazbear's care. Then there's the therapists. Why would Fazbear go out of its way to hire counselors for random staff and children unless they were under legal obligation to provide social workers? Finally, I want to explain my stance on the gold collectibles. Steel Wool head honcho J-Top revealed in an interview with John FNAF, oh shit, hey again, that he likes to leave bait for YouTubers.
Specifically maybe Security Breach. Does that change how you go about the storytelling in future games?
You know what's funny is I'll make these comments where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing in YouTuber bait. People are gonna love
bait?
it. Oh yeah, I have YouTuber bait. I'm like people are gonna love this.
Don't
and I'm like,
that.
I'm gonna put this thing in here and people are gonna love this. And then and then if people don't say anything about it, I'm like, oh, I thought it was being like really obvious, but maybe it was being too subtle.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But I love it because we'll never know what's YouTuber bait. And
no, you would never know.
Yeah.
My gosh. There's just those things where it's like, it's part of the story. It's part of the lore. It'll be part of the world.
Right.
And it's one of those things like, oh, we should do this thing because people will love it.
You can't give me an example of one?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
He states that this bait is, in fact, lore relevant. The collectibles seem rather superfluous most of the time, except in certain instances. For example, upgrades will always be green and purple. The other two color combinations are either a random top and bottom, with most patterns not ever recurring, and the other are fully gold. I believe the gold boxes are hints to the main story. I'm not going to cover all of them, as I'm probably going to end up using them for further videos when I finally finish this series. I want to work on more things than just solving Security Breach. I'm starting to feel like the
Who are the puppet masters of the tuna canneries? Huh? Bit me all night, so I couldn't sleep. Oh, okay, but like I don't know that they made a deal back in '68 with those little green cops. I'm telling you, I don't know where the
fucking milkman. That being said, there are some that I find highly relevant, and those will be mentioned in this video. I love my circle bottle. Hashtag non-spawn, but damn, get one. That should be enough evidence for now, as I want to get into the story I believe Security Breach is telling. I will add more evidence to back up my claims as they become relevant, don't you worry. We'll start with poor little Vanessa. Her father was an abuser, a manipulator, and just an all-around dickhead, honestly. He forced her to testify on his behalf against her mom, leading her to, something I can't say on YouTube. While in his care, somehow Vanessa ended up abandoned at the PIZZAPLEX. We're not sure where he went, but he's implied to no longer be in the picture, as he is referred to in past tense by Vanessa's therapist. How do we know that Vanessa is still not yet an adult? Well, the 16 discs in the PIZZAPLEX are interviews with child psychologists. In CD12, it is stated that the therapist doesn't just work with corporations, but also schools. They also speak with patient 46, who is a child, as evidenced by the demeanor in which they're spoken to, which directly correlates to the way Vanessa is being spoken to. This is, for all intents and purposes, a child psychologist or social worker. Vanessa was in the PIZZAPLEX's care for years. Vanessa was taught computer trades, such as coding and IT work, and even did some work for fazbear, such as game testing. She slept in the daycare attendant's green room, where we could find various items scattered around that relate to her story in the tapes, such as the torture device she had ordered online, sweets, among other things. On the surface, it seems like she had finally found a place where she could find some sort of peace, but under that facade lies a much darker truth. See, the orphans of Fazbear were being scouted to see who could be the most successfully groomed and trained to kill. The tragic past of these children were used against them. Vanessa was the perfect candidate, a reluctant follower who just wanted to make her parents proud, even when they were no longer around. She was malleable, easily corruptible, so that's exactly what they did. She showed her true dedication to the cause, with negative reinforcement being the primary motivator in her grooming. The therapist tried to help her, to help all the children, But as soon as Fazbear was at risk of being found out, the therapist would be replaced and, assumedly, repurposed for the staff project. Can't waste those dead bodies, you know? We could see this in the tapes, right at the beginning. She is forced to keep the identity of one of her groomers secret, and this is a test in her ability to keep her mouth shut. The therapist keeps trying to force her to speak about it, and she never gets to speak with Vanessa again as a result. The second therapist tries to convince her it was not her fault that her dad caused the death of her mother. Fazbear can't have this. They're using that guilt. If it's gone, you'll compromise the mission. Replaced. A couple therapists later, she turns down sweets because of the calorie content, though it is well noted that she is a lover of sweets, so I mean, clearly, her thoughts are not her own. It goes on like this. Every time Vanessa gets close to the root of the problem, to being free, her progress is forcefully cut short. I'm sure this was also a form of manipulation. You speak, somebody dies. You know what happened to your mother was your fault, Vanessa. You think you'd learn to be a good girl by now and keep quiet. God, this is depressing. Maybe I'm wrong about all this, and I hope I am, because this is some fucked up stuff. Anyway, even in her own childhood room, this was apparent. Consider the message titled Arcade Conspiracy. Exit interview. They are working together. The arcades. They are hiding something. The glitches. Glitch them all at the same time. Then the princess will recognize me. She's testing me. I am not yet worthy. The others are protecting it. Let me stay. I am so close. Just one more night, please. I can save the princess. This was found in Vanessa's bedroom, tucked away inside Sun's green room. We find this message next to a Golden Sun plushie, adjacent to the Balloon Boy World arcade machines. This makes me believe she was about to reach adulthood and would be kicked out, or, more likely, killed, if she could not prove she was the right one for the job. This message reeks of desperation and fear and uncertainty. Her life may suck, but at least she's consistent. At least she's alive. And even when faced with homelessness and/or death, she stayed loyal to her task. She was, after all, supposed to be a good girl. After proving she was the one for the job, Vanessa was promoted from orphan slave to crooked cop. She outfitted herself with her own handmade glitchy bunny suit. She do look bad in it though, not gonna lie. Taking on the moniker VANNY, she styled her mask with what I presume to be her persona, a demented white rabbit like Eminem from 8 Mile.
It's so bad, it's so good that I'm so bad. I guarantee I'll be the greatest thing you ever had.
At this point, she had 2 wolves fighting inside of her. The sweet, troubled girl desperate for approval, and the mindless follower with a lust for power, control, and blood. Her trauma had not only caught up to her and never healed, but it was used against her by the very people that were supposed to help and protect her. This gig, though, did not come without its perks. She got a new bedroom over at Fazerblast. It's fit for an adult, complete with a security desk, Princess Quest 3 on arcade, and I can't believe it, an actual bed. Who would have knew? And so eventually, her mission was finally set in motion. Step 1. Finish working on the staff project. Now, I'm gonna break my own rules a bit here and look at another game in the franchise. The most recent Steel Wool game, Help Wanted 2. In one of the endings, our playable character gets turned into a staff bot after completing all training.
Take a mask. Take a mask.
This is the staff project. The vision is to cut all corners possible, not only for the sake of cost, but for the sake of anonymity and, to an extent, science. I'm sure there is something in this game that can back that up without going to Help Wanted 2, but like Fazbear, I'm all about cutting corners. Anyway, step 2. Get rid of the night staff. My guess is that there were less than 100 night shift employees. Why? As you might be aware, it is commonly accepted that the FNAF series takes place in Washington County, Utah. The state of Utah is an at-will state, which means employees can be terminated for any reason at any time with no prior warning or severance benefits. In our case, this means they can legally lay off anything under 100 employees at once with no notice, no pay, no nothing. If there were more than 100 night staff, I assume they were repurposed for the staff project. So that means there are no repercussions in this step other than moral bankruptcy. Vanessa was also made the lone security guard for the entire facility. It was time to lay off the night employees. A pink slip is sent out to all night shift employees stating the following. Attention employees. Good news. Due to the success of the staff project, we will no longer need nighttime employee coverage. We will be reducing nighttime hours effective immediately. Enjoy the additional time spent with your families. There we go. Problem solved. At least part of it. Which leads to step 3. The all-staff meeting. This is a huge topic. There are so many moving parts, and I believe this kicks off the events of the entire game. Reminder to all employees. The all-staff meeting is this Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. All service team attendance is mandatory. There will be cake. All employees were corralled into the faculty cafeteria near the kitchen, an area chosen for its seclusion and lack of security cameras. And when all staff were accounted for, the massacre would begin. Chica guarded one exit. She stood at the door closest to the service counter, using her new voice box to disorient anybody trying to escape, which I'm led to believe because of the golden Chica found just feet from the door behind the service counter. Minty Gumdrop guarded the other door, as evidenced by the damage in the hallway matching the destruction and claw marks seen in his green room. He has no time for subtlety. Vanny was let loose in the room, slaughtering as many people as she could and leaving the rest to the animatronics and staff bots. She used a frequency to disorient her prey's vision and hearing as she commanded her army of staff bots to slaughter them, handicapping their means of getting away. Roxy hid on the other side of the wall, prepared to catch any stragglers the others may have missed. We may not see evidence of Roxy being present during the all-staff meeting, but I do believe there are reasons for her to be placed in this narrative, and I will get into that later. Eventually, silence. The smell of death and metal permeating the air. The meeting has concluded, with not as much as a single security camera to capture a modicum of evidence that this took place. Gregory was an excellent candidate for Fazbear's nefarious deeds. That much can't be denied. But he was too clever for them. Truly a child prodigy in programming, robotics, and all things tech. The left side of his brain was a powerhouse. That much was true. Vanessa was good. She was more creative, though, than technically inclined. Her greatest asset, however, was one that Gregory severely lacked. The ability to follow directions. Gregory was an aficionado, a technical prodigy, but, as stated before, too clever. He knew what was happening, why there was hardly any others, why he almost never saw the same kid twice. And this is what I call the double MCI, the modern missing children's incident. Son was the caretaker during the day. His primary functions were just like the others, to protect and entertain. But at night he had a different protocol. Bad children, the ones that did not obey, got their shit absolutely, irreversibly wrecked. This also included witnesses. If any of the children saw something, they would meet the same fate. All records of the murdered orphans would then be scrubbed, and all their belongings would be taken down to the trash silo, commonly referred to as the post-it room. These pictures and messages are all from clearly different children, at obviously different levels of development. Gregory was smart, though. He witnessed this happening and chose to stay silent, knowing he would be killed too if he was caught being awake. Gregory was not going to let this happen to him. A large part of why I'm convinced Gregory is fully aware of the duality of the daycare attendant is because of his reaction to everything that happens in the daycare in-game. There isn't one.
No! Why would you do that? Lights on! Lights on! I warned you! I warned you! Naughty boy. Naughty boy. It's past your bedtime. You must be punished. 99. I do not know what you did.
The only thing that even remotely gets a reaction out of him was the lights going out. I think any child witnessing this transformation, especially for the first time, would be shaken to the core, but good old Greggy just goes on as if it's business as usual. Gregory is clearly aware of Sun, Moon, and their deeds, but both Sun and Moon have no idea who he is, and here's why. He managed to escape to various corners of the PIZZAPLEX, using whatever he could find to survive, stealing merchandise for clothing, eating scraps, all while devising and executing his escape plan in locations off the locator map used by the animatronics to travel. We see this in the pirate ship behind Kid's Cove. It's inside of a prop, and as we see at various points, objects above the ground are not able to be tracked. Gregory might as well not exist when he's in there. Step 1. Remove all evidence of his existence from the PIZZAPLEX database servers. If they didn't know there was still a child to hunt, then they wouldn't be able to hunt him. This could help him move around the PIZZAPLEX without being actively pursued by animatronics. Step 2. Find an ally. This was easier said than done. VANNY had already wiped out the entire staff. When he called the police, VANNY had gotten there first. And even worse, that alerted her that somebody was still lurking. Not his brightest move, but hey, can you blame him for trying? None of the animatronics could help. They're all corrupted and... Oh, wait. That's it. If he could somehow reboot one of these animatronics back into safe mode, restoring their primary functions and blocking all corrupted data, well, that might just be crazy enough to work. He manages to hide inside of Freddy's chest cavity before the big show. He reboots Freddy into safe mode. I painstakingly wrote down every line of code in the opening cutscene so that I could share it in a Facebook group. And while it doesn't necessarily tell us much we didn't know, it does help to know exactly what's going on. Here's the translation I got from a new friend. The code is pretty much just saying, system booting attempted, failed. Attempting to gather other processes. Report of instance, failed. Further tasks become void. System overloaded. Total system failure. Reboot. And in layman's terms, me being layman's, Freddy was overloaded and corrupted, then shut down, and rebooted into safe mode. Step 2 was a success, as when Freddy comes to, he's his jolly, friendly old self again. Not one of those demons wearing the faces of once beloved anthropomorphic characters that they've all been turned into. His primary protocols to protect and entertain have been restored. And now that Gregory has an ally, he can move on to step 3, escape. Now, I don't need to get into everything that happens in the rest of the game here. You've played or watched it, and if you haven't, what the hell are you doing here? But I will touch on some important things to call out. First off, there's the animatronics and their upgrades. To start, Chica was given a new voice box for the sake of singing live, but it made the staff bots malfunction, getting aggressive and glitching out. Could be an honest mistake. Then we have my sweet, sweet baby Roxy. She was given better eyesight for the sake of improving her racing abilities, allowing her to see through walls. And finally, there's Montgomery Gatorade. Monster Cheese got improved claws to help him pluck the bass strings more efficiently. These all seem to be for the sake of genuine improvement, but that is simply untrue. These musicians don't actually perform live. They lip sync. Animatronics have never performed live instruments, and we have concrete evidence of this. Consider the opening. The song begins as they are standing in a corridor. They approach the stage elevator and wait for their cue. As they are carried up, they do not start playing until they are in view. Now, Scarlet, that's not fair. It's a cutscene. Yes, but it is a diegetic cutscene. We are watching as it switches between live footage and the view on the Megatron, or whatever those stage screens are called. Look, I already researched Utah labor laws. I'm not researching this too. You can't make me. You can just forget. It's called a cyclorama. That's pretty cool. But this point is further exemplified by the Showtime disc. It's the literal backing track. They do not play live, so these enhancements for the sake of musicality are useless, unless they're used in other ways, like how they were described in the all-staff meeting portion. I believe these upgrades were intentionally designed for pulling off the all-staff meeting. Next, I want to get into the way the gameplay loop subtly builds on the story. It is stated while Freddy is locked in the protective cylinders after Gregory experiences Blink, an interactive Doctor Who experience, that Vanessa can hear the communications between Freddy and Gregory.
Here's great news. He can be returned to his parents.
He can't. Turns out there's no record of him.
How unfortunate. If you reattach my head, I will go look for him now.
His name is Gregory. You know how I know that? His Fazwatch kept repeating it, in your voice. Gregory, are you there? Gregory?
That's how she knows where he's gonna be at all times. In the beginning, when Freddy finds Gregory, he is tasked with traveling through the vent to get out of Freddy's green room and into Rockstar Row. Later, when Gregory takes the same route to obtain the party pass from Chica's green room, there's a mini music man stalking him in the vents, as Vanessa patrols Rockstar Row. These are also seen in the vents right before Vanessa intercepts Gregory after trying to escape via the loading docks or the prize counter, and right before learning that Vanessa hears you conspiring on the way to and from Endo's. She knows where you'll be. She knows where you've been. This is just one big game of cat and mouse, and every time you see Mini Homie, you see Vanessa. 4 times, not far from each other, which is every appearance of Mini Music Man. That is not coincidence. She is hello neighboring your ass, and this shows the dichotomy between these two foils. One is perfect offense, malleable, creative, violent, and unhinged. And one is perfect defense, headstrong, evasive, stoic. The yin to each other's yang. Now I want to talk about the endings for a brief moment. I believe that 2 of the endings are canon, and the rest are meant to be taken as metaphors to explain the subtext of these characters and add some depth. First, let's talk about the canon endings. I believe these are the Afton ending, it's not Afton, but whatever, and the Princess Quest's ending. In the Burn Trap ending, Gregory burns the Mimic, I said what I said, we'll talk about that another day, 8 times, resulting in a cutscene of Gregory and Freddy escaping the sinkhole. We know this actually happened, due to Gregory being confirmed to have been in the pizzeria in ruin using environmental details, as well as his familiarity with the Mimic. Then Gregory has one last score to settle. He confronts Vanny in Phaser Blast. As a result, Freddy gets attacked by a swarm of staff bots, becoming disassembled and decapitated. RIP. Effing chat for my dude. Gregory makes his way to Vanny's room to turn them against Vanny. He gets distracted, however, by the 3rd installment of Princess Quest. I'll do a separate video on the importance of Princess Quest and a prequel to Vanessa's story eventually. These will probably be the same video. Upon completing the game, Vanessa's mind is freed, and upon doing so, all the corrupted staff bots deactivate. She has lost control, but in accepting this, she was finally free. Free from the torment of her past, from the intoxicating influence of her neurally integrated mask. She was finally free. And it was all thanks to Gregory. The 2 leave the PIZZAPLEX with Freddy's head and start life anew. This ending is all but confirmed to be canon, but it was never confirmed to be the only canon ending. The others all contradict each other in some way, but these 2 complement each other. And the Princess Quest ending is the only one without a comic strip, leaving me to believe Gregory had already left before making it, if he even made one at all, meaning this was the last ending in the order of events. We know from Ruin that this ending also happened, as we see Freddy's headless body in the place it was taken down. Convinced? Probably. Unless you're matpat. I haven't once implied Gregory is a robot. Now, on to the non-canon endings, or as I call them, subtext endings. The worst ending shows that Gregory has nowhere to go upon escaping, and that he can never escape the survivor's guilt, symbolized by Vanny's silhouette looming over him as he uses a missing persons page as a blanket. The fire escape ending shows that Vanny and Vanessa are two different entities occupying the same body. When Freddy takes down the evil Vanny, we see Vanessa burning on the roof. She wanted to be saved. This isn't how she wanted to go. This truly emphasizes the first word in Reluctant Follower. If the bad ending shows Gregory's regret, this shows Vanessa's regret. She never wanted any of this, and she is just as much a victim as the one she's been groomed to kill. The Disassemble Vanny ending is an interesting case. I think it has lots of meaning. The relevant part, however, is that Vanny is more robot than human. Obviously, she's all flesh and bone, but symbolically, she is a robot, programmed to follow and disassembled when she is no longer useful. These endings are all painting a very sad picture. Yes, even the last one. The van ending is the comic relief ending. In this, Gregory escapes with Freddy in a van. Freddy then runs out of power, leaving Gregory alone. Being the smarty pants he is, though, he uses the car's battery to recharge Freddy. Sure, this shows the companionship between these two and Gregory's quick thinking, but it also shows that Gregory can't stand to lose Freddy. The only parental figure or friend he has left. He is, after all, an orphan whose friends were slaughtered. Gregory also deserved better. Then finally, there's something that happens right before the end that I want to touch on. Vanny leaves Gregory a CD with one of her therapy sessions on it. He can use it with a CD player inside the most secret room in the game. I need more time to decode this room, but I have a couple ideas floating around the old noggin. Nothing concrete enough that I feel comfortable putting it in here, though. What we will, however, be talking about is the CD. The CD left for Gregory is her revealing to him that she knows who he is. She knows what he did. And also revealing to him that she is his competition. She won once and she will win again. That is the implied threat, and it's actually pretty freaky. I know I make a lot of logical leaps in this, and I truly tried to find as much evidence as possible, but I honestly believe this is the closest we've ever gotten to solving this beautiful mess of a game, and I plan to expand on it in a future video. Maybe a steel wool timeline to just bring everything together. Stay tuned, these things will happen. This video is long enough as it is. I'm not dual process theory, nor do I have half the bumps on my brain as one of those two by themselves. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, half an hour of me rambling about Silly Bear Dude. If you have any questions, criticisms, anything, feel free to drop them all in the comment section down below. If I get enough questions and comments worth answering, maybe I'll stream a Q&A, we'll see. Alright, ladies, gentlemen and gentledoms, and all animatronic furries of the world, stay safe, and have yourself a beautiful, child murder-free day.
So I will spray my words of love with your name on every wall. When you leave, my colors fade to gray. Ooh, every word of love I used to say, now repeated every day. When you leave, my colors fade to gray. A little love to stay, all my colors fade away. Every word of love I used to say, now repeated every day. I sold my strings, my song and dreams.